Welcome to aminacademy.com. The Sun, a nuclear powerhouse. Some introduction. The Sun is a giant natural thermonuclear reactor that converts hydrogen to helium in its core to produce a heat we sense on our faces as sunshine. Why does this reactor not explode as a thermonuclear bomb? The Sun is held together in an equilibrium state by the mutual gravitational attraction between all its atoms acting to compress the solar center. These gravitational forces produces a and contain the nuclear reactions taking place there. The solar atmosphere outside the energy generating core adjusts itself to carry the enormous amount of energy that emerges from the surface in the form of radiation. This is the basic idea behind the existence of all stars, beginning with the gravitational attraction and compression of a gas cloud to the beginning of a nuclear energy generation and finally to the exhaustion of the nuclear fuel and death of the star. The sun puts out an incomprehensible amount of energy, so much that its ultraviolet radiation can cause sunburn from 93 million miles away. It is also very old. As we learned earlier, evidence shows that the sun formed about 4.5 billion years ago and has been shining ever since. How can the sun produce so much energy for so long? Sun's energy output is about 4 into 10 raised to 26 watts. This is unimaginably bright, brighter than a trillion cities together, each with a trillion 100 watts light bulbs. Most known method of generating energy fall far short of the capacity of the sun. The total amount of energy produced over the entire life of the sun is staggering. Since the sun has been shining for a billion of years, scientists were unable to explain the seemingly unlimited energy of stars like the sun prior to the 20th century. Energy is a challenging concept of grasp because it exists in so many different forms that it defines any single simple explanation. In many ways, comprehending energy is like comprehending wealth. There are very different forms of wealth and they follow different rules depending on if they are the stock market, real estate, or a collection of old comic books, great piles of cash, or one of the many other ways to make and lose money. It is easier to discuss one or two forms of wealth or energy than to discuss that concept in general. When striving to understand how the sun can put out so much energy for so long, scientists considered many different types of energy. 19th century scientists knew of two possible sources for the sun's energy, chemical and gravitational energy. The source of chemical energy most familiar to that them was the burning. The chemical terms is oxidation of wood, coal, gasoline or other fuel. Now let us discuss further detail about uh, the sun, a nuclear powerhouse. Sun is a nuclear powerhouse because it generates immense energy through nuclear fusion. Nuclear fusion, a process in its core where hydrogen atoms are fused to form a helium, releasing vast amount of heat and light. This energy is crucial for the life on Earth, radiating outwards as light and heat. The sun is stable and powerful nuclear reactor held together by a balance between the immense gravitational pressure in its core and the outward pressure from the fusion reaction. What is nuclear fusion? At the sun's center, the extreme temperature, nearly 15 million degrees Celsius, and pressure cause hydrogen nuclei to fuse together, creating a helium nuclei and releasing energy. Mass to energy conversion. The process of fusion converts a small amount of mass into a tremendous amount of energy, as described by Einstein's equation E equal to mc square. Energy transport. This energy, initially in the form of gamma rays, travels outward from the core through the sun's layer and is eventually radiated into space as visible light, infrared radiation, and other forms of energy. Gravitational stability. The sun remains stable because the outward pressure from the nuclear fusion in its core perfectly counteracts the inward pull of its own gravity, preventing it from collapsing. So far, we discussed a little about the sun is a nuclear powerhouse, some introduction. We have done. Please subscribe our YouTube channel.